part 10 of the Tipiṭaka recitals on Edward Reed's Buddhist Books podcast. For those of you on YouTube, if this is your first time seeing me wearing this, click here instead, and that will take you to the Tipiṭaka playlist, and I recommend starting with episode 1. For those of you on the podcast, hello! I know you can't see me, I'm waving. Anyway, before we get started, just briefly, I swear I'm not going to go on for 25 minutes. I wanted to let you know and plug one of my other videos here on this same Edward Reed YouTube channel, but different playlist. It's from the Travels series. So, to sum up, in 2017, I sold everything I owned, basically, and bought a one-way ticket to Africa, and then to Nepal to see the birthplace of the Buddha. Went to Bhutan for a week, because, one can only afford to go to Bhutan for a week, depending on what country you're from. If you're from India, you can just go to Bhutan, and they don't charge you $200 per day. But if you're from US, UK, that kind of place, they do charge you $200 per day, but that covers the driver, the guide, the best hotels, the best food. You don't pay for anything unless you want to buy stuff like souvenirs and, like maybe some flags, then you have to pay for that. Oh, this also I got in Paro. Not a monk, just for those who are confused. Last time I said that, I don't know what it was, but that episode 8, it only got 2 thumbs downs, but it's my first time getting thumbs downs of any kind on the Buddhist Books podcast, so I was like, what is going on? It was the one where I was making reference to that video about the third religion, the guy talking about, and I was kind of like, okay, breaking it down, and I linked to that video. Anyway, so that's that. If you have any thoughts about that, let me know. But the thing I wanted to tell you about was Travels, episode 14. So it started with Africa, then Nepal, then Bhutan, then back to Nepal, then India, then I met Priyal, and then we started traveling together. And so then there were Travels videos where we went all over and to Thailand and so on. And then there was COVID, so that put a damper on our traveling for a while. And then finally, we started traveling again. So, episode
13.
You probably already saw that was Travels episode
13.
Entitled Kasoli, Bihar, Andaman, and Darjeeling. We actually went to Kasoli, and then in Bihar we went to Bodh Gaya, where the Buddha attained enlightenment. We also went to Rajgir, where Mahavir taught the kings and so on. And we went a few other places, and Andaman, a couple of islands there, and Darjeeling, as well as Gangtok. So if you're interested in Buddhism, which I'm guessing you are because you're watching this video, there is like several minutes, like maybe, 7 or 8 minutes of Mahabodhi Temple. That's the temple that commemorates where Buddha attained enlightenment, which I think at some point in this I'm showing you on the screen, maybe even right now as I'm talking. Something like that. Anyway, also Nalanda University, which is a little bit more esoteric. Vajrayana did partially develop there, but that's not what I mean by esoteric. I didn't know about Nalanda University until I met Priyal, and she started showing me pictures of it. But people who dig in a little bit and read source texts and so on might have already heard of Nalanda University. Anyway, you can see several minutes of us walking around Nalanda University and see what that looks like from the inside in present day, or at least, a couple months ago. These were all our travels between March and June, so we did a lot of traveling in a few months. And there's a few other notable things. Darjeeling is big with Tibetan Buddhism, so you get to see some temples there, as well as some temples in Gangtok, Sikkim. So, anyway, let's get to the reading, shall we? It's very exciting lately, isn't it? Listing off all the different rules about stealing. It's okay, it'll get exciting again, I'm sure. And so, if you remember last time we left off, it was talking about goods in transit. It was defined goods in transit. And if you touch it, it's a wrongdoing. If you make it wiggle, then it's a grave offense. And if you remove it from its place, then you are defeated. Pārājika. continuing right where we left off. By the way, I'd like to welcome our special guest, White Tara, Yeshi Dawa, which actually means wisdom full moon, but she's commonly known as White Tara. You can tell by the green Tara, aside from being green in this particular case, has her leg not fully in lotus position, so it's like she's ready to get up and help you as soon as you say Om Tare Tutare Turi Soha. Now, this is a bit of an anachronism, I know, because we're reading about early Buddhism, and she didn't come around until later, although I'm sure her origin story puts her thousands of years earlier than Buddha, but she wasn't talked about, except that she did exist in Hinduism in a different kind of form. She was sort of like the Egyptian Nut, like the sky, the stars, something like that. But this Tara was a woman who, they told, basically, it's fun, in honor of like representation. She's the first female Buddha that we have here on the show, sitting here next to me on the desk. Her story was when she took the Bodhisattva oath, or just before she took the Bodhisattva oath, her teacher told her, you can be on the path and you're a nun and you've taken the vows, but at some point you will have to incarnate as a man in order to, have the balance right in order to attain nirvana. And she was like, I think that's bullshit, I think was her exact quote. So she said, she took the vow of the Bodhisattva, I will not attain nirvana until every being in the universe has attained nirvana before me, and I will never incarnate as a man. And so, sort of an early, feminist type, archetype, Tara. That's Tara in general. White Tara in particular, you can see she's sitting in full lotus, and if you look closely, she has eyes on her feet and on her hands. I don't know if you can see, well, anyway, it depends, on the statue, of course, how visible the eyes are. So she has 7 eyes in total. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 on the feet. All right, let's rewind it. I don't have that set up, and I'm not going to take the time to do that. So yeah, she's really here. It's not a trick. So yes. So Yeshi Tsogyo means wisdom ocean. Yeshi Dawa means wisdom full moon. And while they are closely related, one might say one is an incarnation of the other. I think she's more associated with Red Tara, that is Yeshi Tsogyo. But anyway, okay, let's get to it. Or not Red Tara, one of the other red deities she's supposed to be the incarnation of. All right. I'll get back to you on that. But it is in Iburito, because I took a lot of my notes, things that I was trying to remember, and just said they were poetry and included them in Iburito. That's Iburito. You can find it on Amazon. Just search for my name. Anyway, let's get started. We only blew through 10 minutes or so. Okay. Deposit means goods laid down, reserved in parentheses. Quote, give me the goods, end quote, he says. If one calls out to him, quote, I am not taking them, end quote, there is an offense of wrongdoing. All right. He evokes doubt in, parentheses, the mind of, end parentheses, the keeper. There is a grave offense. The keeper saying, quote, he will not give it to me, end quote, gives up his post. There is an offense involving defeat. Resorting to law, he defeats the keeper. There is an offense involving defeat. Resorting to law, he is defeated. There is a grave offense. So, deposit goods laid down. Give me the goods, he says, if one calls out to him. I am not taking them. There's an offense of wrongdoing. I'm sure it makes sense. If you're being dishonest in some kind of transaction, then depending on the level, if you actually get the other party to give in and submit to you. In the case of the king, it was like, well, I'll let you keep the wood because of your hair. And so he was kicked out, presumably, that monk that took the wood, because the king gave in and let him keep the wood. And because he stole the wood in the first place. But yeah, there's this interesting thing where if there's like a battle of words between the monk, where the monk says, this is my field, not yours, and the keeper says, no, it's not, then the monk is in trouble, but he's not kicked out. But if the keeper's like, well, I mean, you're the monk, so I guess the land's yours, I'll pack my stuff and leave, then the Buddha sees that go on and says, you are not a monk anymore. So that's stealing, right? Okay, continuing. Customs frontier means it is established by the king in a mountain pass or at a ford in a river or at the gate of a village, so that tax shall be received on a person entering here. Intending to steal and having entered there, he touches goods which are of value to the king, to the value of 5 masakas, or more than 5 masakas, there is an offense of wrongdoing. So, okay, let's break this down. If the king is charging a 10% tariff on goods being brought in, 10% tax on goods being brought in to his territory, then technically speaking, you can touch 49 masakas worth, or just 49 masakas cash, assuming that, I think there were coins, right? And there's no problem, because 10% of that is 4.9 masakas, which is less than 5 masakas, right? Does that make sense? Doesn't matter. Okay. Yes. Intending to steal and having entered there, he touches the goods which are of value to the king to the value of 5 masakas. Although, right, so it's a separate issue from, the taxes are a separate issue from the goods. So the person you're actually stealing the goods from, that you can't do that. But as far as the taxes go. So that's to be considered. If you're going to steal 4.9 masakas from somebody as they're entering a country, but the king is going to charge 10%, then I think you're going over, in some realm of mathematics, you're going over 5 masakas. Doesn't matter. Really doesn't matter. And I'm talking too much. I know. Okay. Yes. He intending to steal which are of value to the king 5 masakas, or more than 5 masakas, there is an offense of wrongdoing. If he makes them quiver, there is a grave offense. If he makes his first foot cross the customs frontier, there is a grave offense. Okay, so let's talk about monks crossing borders with goods and not paying the taxes, not paying the tariffs, right? If he makes his second foot cross the customs frontier, there is an offense involving defeat. Pay the taxes to the king, right? Standing within the customs frontier, he makes them fall outside the customs frontier, there's an offense involving defeat. If he evades the tax, there is an offense of wrongdoing. What? That's what he was doing. When you step across the frontier with goods, oh, maybe the goods themselves are more than 5 masakas. Okay, I'm a little confused, I'm being honest, because I thought that whole thing was about evading tax. If you step 2 feet over the border without paying your tax, you're defeated. And if you evade taxes, it's a wrongdoing. What? Sorry, I'm sorry. Maybe this made sense at that time. Or I'm just misreading it, or the translation is a little bit imperfect or something. Creature means what is called a human creature. Okay. Intending to steal, he touches it. The human creature? I don't want to know. There, 3 dots. There is an offense involving defeat. Thinking, I will conduct him on foot. He makes the first foot move. There is a grave offense. If he makes the second foot move, there is an offense involving defeat. All right. Footless means snakes and fish. Intending to steal, he touches them to the value of 5 masakas, or more than 5 masakas. 3 dots, involving defeat. So if he wiggles it, and so on and so forth. 2-footed means men and birds. Intending to steal, he touches them. So we're talking about slavery, I think. We're talking about men as property, people as property. So back then, that wasn't a big issue. So what can you do? You're not allowed to free a slave without the permission of the slaver. Apparently. 3 dots, involving defeat, saying, I will lead them away on foot, end quote. He makes the first foot move, there's a grave offense. If he makes the second foot move, there's an offense involving defeat. This is 2,600 some odd years ago, so values were different. Apparently, I mean, all that, like labor movements of the late 19th century and everything, the establishment of minimum wage just happened. I mean, it's on the scale of time. So what we would now think of as people working for minimum wage, back then they would think of as, slaves that are owned by somebody. So if a corporation goes in and wants to take the workers of another corporation, there might be a litigation, a lawsuit involved, like, hey, those workers were working for Amazon, you can't make them come work for Walmart. That'd be on the same level back then as, hey, that slave belongs to Larry, so don't say, hey, come with me. Hey, yeah, follow me. And that, because if you cause him to move both of his feet, you're kicked out of the Buddhist order, apparently. All right. If I'm reading this correctly, if I'm not, do comment below. Two-footed means, yes, we read that. Four-footed means elephants, horses, camels, bullocks, asses, and cattle. Perhaps in another 1,000 years, that will be just as horrifying as slavery. Intending to steal, he touches them, 3 dots. There's an offense involving defeat. So yeah, if he touches them, if he touches them, wrongdoing. If he makes them wiggle, what if they wiggle on their own? Grave offense, and if he takes them, then there's an offense involving defeat. Saying, I will lead them away on foot. He makes the first foot move, there's a grave offense. If he makes the second foot move, there's a grave offense. If he makes the third foot move, there is a grave offense. If he makes the fourth foot move, there is an offense involving defeat. I say let the elephant go where it wants, but, I'm old-fashioned? No. Many-footed means scorpions, centipedes, live maw worms. Oh, they have so many feet, they can't even see them because they're worms. Maybe maw worms is something else. Right. Comey gives no help. That's the footnote. The footnote gives no help. Anyway, intending to steal, he touches them to the value of 5 masakas, or more than 5 masakas, 3 dots. There's an offense involving defeat. Saying, I will lead them away on foot, he makes them move. For each foot there is a grave offense. If he makes the last foot move, there's an offense involving defeat. A spy means spying on the goods. He describes them, saying, quote, do you steal such and such goods? End quote. There's an offense involving a double defeat. Double defeat. What does that look like? The keeper of entrusted wares means guarding goods that have been brought to him to the value of 5 masakas, or more than 5 masakas, and intending to steal, he handles the goods, 3 dots, involving defeat. Keeper of trusted wares would probably be the equivalent of like a bank today, I would imagine. An arranged theft or a storage facility. An arranged theft means a crowd having arranged together, in parentheses, to commit a theft, end parentheses, one steals the goods, all are involved in defeat. All right. So if like 10 monks get together and say, hey, you, monk, go steal the goods, and then we'll all split it, or whatever. They're like involved somehow, then they're all defeated. The making of a rendezvous means he makes a rendezvous. Thought we were translating this into English, not French. For a time is in parentheses. Either before or after a meal or during the night, according to this rendezvous, he says, parentheses, do you steal? Without a question mark. So maybe that's, do you steal? Maybe you do steal. Steal it. And parentheses. There's an offense of wrongdoing. If at this rendezvous, he steals the goods, there's an offense involving defeat for both, obviously. Right? If he steals the goods before or after, parentheses, the time of the, and parentheses, rendezvous, there is no offense for the instigator. There is an offense involving defeat for the thief. Okay. If he steals the goods before or after the time of the rendezvous, there's no offense for the instigator. oh, loophole. So all you have to do is go and have a rendezvous and tell someone, not now, but after this rendezvous, go steal that. And then according to this, I know I'm probably misreading it, or it's like they'd be like, no, that's not what it means. It means if you say, hey, do you want to steal that? And he says, no. Oh, okay. And then he goes, and then he decides to steal it anyway. And then there's no offense for the guy who gave him the idea. I think that's probably what it must mean. Otherwise, it would be ridiculous. The making of a sign, because he just covered that if like more than one monk is involved and when one monk goes and steals it, then they're all defeated. The making of a sign means he makes a sign saying, I will either cover up my eyes, or I will raise my eyebrows, or raise my head. According to this sign, do you steal the goods? Do you steal the goods? End quote. I don't know. I think if I were a translator, I mean, I'm not, but if I were, I would translate it in a way that made sense. That's just me. Okay, there is an offense of wrongdoing. If, according to this sign, he steals the goods, there is an offense. By the way, beautiful translation, J.B. Horner. I don't mean to criticize. I'm just poking fun. If you're still alive. Yes. So if he steals the goods before or after this sign, there is no offense for the instigator. There is an offense involving defeat for the thief. All right. If a monk enjoins a monk saying, quote, steal such and such goods, end quote, there is an offense of wrongdoing if he, thinking these, parentheses, are goods to be stolen, end parentheses, steals them, there is an offense involving defeat for both. If a monk enjoins a monk saying, steal such and such goods, and he, thinking these, parentheses, are the goods to be stolen, end parentheses, steals something else, there is no offense for the instigator. Oh. So if you say, hey, go steal those shoes, and the guy's like, oh, okay, and he goes and steals the wrong shoes, then the guy who told him to steal the shoes is totally in the clear, because he stole the wrong freaking shoes. Right? Okay, that's what it seems to say. If a monk, 3 dots, love those dots. I missed them. It's been too long. Oh, the dots. Let's have a moment of silence in honor of the dots. How I love those dots. Don't you? He, thinking something else are the goods, steals them. There's an offense involving defeat for both. What? He, thinking something else are the goods to be stolen, steals them. There's an offense involving defeat for both. That's the opposite of what it just said. Let me double check that. Okay, if he says, steal such and such goods, and he, thinking these are the goods to be stolen, steals something else, there is no offense for the instigator. There's an offense involving defeat for the thief. If a monk, 3 dots, he, thinking something else are the goods to be stolen, steals them, there is an offense involving defeat for both. I wonder if there's something in the 3 dots that would make that make sense and not just be a direct contradiction of what it just said. I bet there is. I don't really love the dots. That was sarcasm, by the way. Yes. So, if a monk, 3 dots, he, thinking something else are the goods to be stolen, steals something else, there is no offense for the instigator. There is an offense involving defeat for the thief. If at some point in the future, because Polytech Society... Yes, wasn't that fun? If someone in the future is watching these from Polytech Society, first of all, I love these books. Thank you. Second of all, if there's anything you can do to facilitate new editions of the Tipiṭaka to be produced that have no dots in them. No, oh, let's just put in 3 dots because this is a repeat of something that was said before at some point 30 pages ago in a different context. Just fill in the text. It's okay. We can read it twice. I would like for there to exist an English translation of the Tipiṭaka, is what I'm saying. Because this, it's like 90 2% of a translation of the Tipiṭaka. The missing 8% is where you have to stop in your tracks and do some detective work, which I'm not going to do because I'm reading this live. And if I was going to do that, it would take a lot of time. You cannot have a flow to the reading if you have to stop and analyze what goes in the 3 dots, and if it changes the meaning, or without knowledge, this esoteric, elusive knowledge of what goes in the dots at times, you cannot make sense of what the text says. Please, whether you're watching this in the 23rd or 24th or 25th century, please do something about this. If you have the power, if you have the authority, mention it to someone, show this to someone. You can take this clip and just see a man pleading, reading, please, please, please. Stop it with the 3 dots. It's driving me insane. And I'm sure I'm not the only one. I'm just the only one speaking publicly about it. But every student in every college that studies these books, in the middle of the night, studying for an examination tomorrow morning, is getting to the 3 dots, hitting their head physically hard, making marks, making bruises as they punch themselves in the head, and then flip through and rip the pages trying to figure out what goes in the 3 dots. I guarantee in every college that has a set of these books, that happens. All right. Sorry, everybody. I wasn't talking to you. I was talking to the Polytech Society. Let's get back to the reading, okay? Thank you for putting up with the imperfections of this. Yes. So, where were we? Doesn't matter because it's not going to make sense because of the 3 dots. If a monk enjoins a monk saying, tell of such and such matter, let so-and-so tell of such and such, let so-and-so steal such and such goods, end quote, there is an offense of wrongdoing. If he speaks to another, there is an offense of wrongdoing. If the thief agrees, there is a grave offense for the instigator. If he steals these goods, there is an offense involving defeat for all these 4 people, in parentheses. If a monk enjoins a monk, saying, tell of such and such a matter, let so-and-so steal such and such goods, end quote. There is an offense of wrongdoing. If he enjoins another, there is an offense of wrongdoing. If the thief agrees, there is an offense of wrongdoing. If he steals these goods, there is no offense for the instigator. There is an offense involving defeat for the enjoiner and the thief. If a monk enjoins a monk, saying, steal such and such goods, there is an offense of wrongdoing. Having gone, he returns, saying, I am not able to steal these goods. And if he enjoins him again, saying, when you are able, then steal these goods, there is an offense of wrongdoing. If he steals the goods, there is an offense involving defeat for both. If a monk enjoins a monk, saying, steal such and such goods, there is an offense of wrongdoing. If, having enjoined this course, he regrets it, but he does not say to him, do not steal, and he steals these goods, there is an offense involving defeat for both, even if he regrets it. If a monk, 3 dots, having enjoined this course, regrets it and says to him, do not steal, he says very well and desists. There is no offense for either. In that case, the dots were okay, because it was a reference to something that was just said, not something that was said 12 pages earlier in another context, or 30 pages earlier in another context, or just totally unclear, and without knowing what's in it, it makes it seem like it's completely contradicting itself. There's an offense involving defeat through appropriating in 5 ways what is not given. It is the possession of another, and known to be the possession of another, and known to be the possession, and it is important, and it is a requisite to the value of 5 or more masakas, and there is present the intention to steal. If he touches it, so you can touch things if you're not intending to steal them, okay. If he touches it, there's an offense of wrongdoing. If he makes it quiver, there is a grave offense. If he removes it from the place, there is an offense involving defeat. There is a grave offense through appropriating in 5 ways what is not given. It is the possession of another, and known to be the possession of another, and it is unimportant, and it is a requisite to the value of more than 5 masakas, or less than 5, more than a masaka or less than 5 masakas, and there is intention to steal what is at one's disposal. If he touches it, there is an offense of wrongdoing. So if it's not important, but it's worth more than 1 masaka and less than 5 masaka, okay. If he makes it quiver, there is an offense of wrongdoing. If he removes it from the place, there is a grave offense. Oh, so now we're getting into what if it's worth less than 5 masakas? Well, even if you steal it, it's a grave offense. So that brew packet, you might just get a talking to about it, but you get to still be a monk. There is an offense of wrongdoing through appropriating in 5 ways what is not given. It is the property of another, 3 dots, a requisite to the value of a masaka or less than a masaka, and there is present the intention to steal. If he touches it, there is an offense of wrongdoing. If he makes it quiver, there is an offense of wrongdoing. If he removes it from the place, there is an offense of wrongdoing, but not a grave offense. All right. Was that different than the other? There is a grave offense through appropriating in 5 ways what is not given is the possession of another, known to be the possession of another, and it is unimportant, and a requisite to the value of more than a masaka, less than 5 masakas. There is intention to steal. Okay, how is that different? There's an offense of wrongdoing through appropriating in 5 ways what is not given if it's the property of another. 3 dots, a requisite to the value of a masaka. So if we assume that what's in the 3 dots is the same as what was in the previous paragraph, which is what one would assume that 3 dots mean, then these are 2 different statements, both saying the same crime, one saying it's a wrongdoing, the other saying it's a grave offense. So my only conclusion is that what is in the 3 dots is not the same as what is in the previous paragraph, which is a 3rd kind of heinous crime that use of these 3 dots is guilty of. The user of the 3 dots, the one who allows them to be used, one who encourages them to be used, and the one who uses them, are all guilty of a wrongdoing, a grave offense, and are defeated, in my humble opinion. Anyway, there is an offense involving defeat through appropriating in 6 ways what is not given. He does not know it is his own. He does not take a confidant. He does not know it is his own. So if you steal something that is actually yours, all right, he does not know it is his own. He does not take a confidant. It is not for the time being. It is important. It is a requisite to the value of 5 masakas or more than 5 masakas, and there is present the intention to steal. If he touches it, 3 dots, involving defeat. Well, since we're getting into like subtleties of like in some cases it's a wrongdoing and then a grave offense and then defeat, and in other cases it's a wrongdoing, and a grave offense, it's inappropriate again to use these dots. Sorry guys, I'm just criticizing. You couldn't possibly be enjoying this. I'm sorry. Anyway, right. So, there is a grave offense through appropriating in 6 ways what is not given. He does not know it is his own. 3 dots. It is unimportant. It is a requisite worth more than a masaka or less than 5 masakas, and there is intention to steal. 3 dots. There is a grave offense. There is an offense of wrongdoing through appropriating in 6 ways. I'm starting to feel the apathy set in, like a warm, sort of opiated blanket. So now I'm starting to not care whether it makes sense or not. And I'm just getting into a space where I'm just going to read the words as they are and stop being frustrated that it doesn't make sense. Which is a bad thing, but it's maybe good for the emotional tone of the episode as a whole. Okay. Yes. There is an offense of wrongdoing through appropriating in 6 ways what is not given. He does not know it is not his own. 3 dots. It is unimportant. It is a requisite to the value of a masaka, or less than a masaka, and there is intention to steal. 3 dots. There is an offense of wrongdoing. See? Happy. Okay. There is an offense of wrongdoing through appropriating in 5 ways what is not given. It is not the possession of another. He thinks it is the possession of another. It is unimportant. 3 dots. To the value of more than 5 masakas, there is present the intention to steal. If he touches it, there's an offense of wrongdoing. If he makes it quiver, there is an offense of wrongdoing. If he removes it from the place, there is an offense of wrongdoing. There is an offense of wrongdoing through appropriating in 5 ways what is not given. It is not the possession of another. He thinks it is the possession of another. It is unimportant. 3 dots. To the value of less than 5 masakas, there is present the intention to steal. If he touches it, there is an offense of wrongdoing. If he makes it quiver, there is an offense of wrongdoing. If he removes it from its place, there is an offense of wrongdoing. There is an offense of wrongdoing through appropriating in 5 ways what is not given. It is not the property of another. He thinks it is the property of another. It is unimportant. 3 dots. To the value of less than a masaka, and there is present the intention to steal. If he touches it, there is an offense of wrongdoing. If he makes it quiver, there is an offense of wrongdoing. If he removes it from its place, there is an offense of wrongdoing. There is no offense if he knows it is his own. So, okay, those are all things where it is your own, where you're like, oh, that's a nice dragon statue. It reminds me of mine. Oh, I'm going to steal it and put it next to mine. Where's mine? Oh, this is mine. Okay, so that's a wrongdoing. So you had the intention to steal, even though you ended up not stealing because it was yours, dummy. Silly monks. I mean, this must have come up if it's like being talked about, if I'm understanding correctly what these last few rules have been about. All right. If it is taken temporarily, there is no offense if he knows it is his own. If it is taken as a confidant, if it is taken temporarily, if he is in the realm of the departed, if he is in the animal world, I want to hear more about the animal world. I bet we'll get to that in future books. If he thinks them to be rags taken from the dust heap, if he is mad, if his mind is unhinged, if he is afflicted by pain, if he is a beginner. Told is the first recital on taking what is not given. We finished a section. I'm calling it, this is going to be a shorter episode than the last couple. Dogen, the Japanese Zen master who brought Chan over from China and because of his accent called it Zen, originator of Zen, you could say, in Japan, or Japanese Zen, you might say. He's the guy that, when we do that thing, the dee-dee-dee, and I was like, oh, it's a rock, that was him. He talked about rags from the dust heap and how the rags don't have to be of one particular kind of cloth. So if a rich person is wearing elaborate fine silk and dyes and the body is cremated and the clothes are thrown onto the dust heap and they happen to be shiny and silk, that's rags. But if there's a dirty cloth that's, cotton or whatever would have been considered, burlap or something, whatever would have been considered like cheap, and you buy it from the store or take it from someone, that's not rags. So maybe I'm misremembering it a little bit, but he went on for a while about the rags from a dust heap. And it's interesting Basically, my original motivation for wanting to buy all these books and read them was to be able to understand all the references that Dogen was making, because he was talking in the 1240s mostly. And he was talking to people who were studying all of the scriptures that had been brought over already. And so he was making reference to the Lotus Sutra. He was making reference to Nagarjuna. He was making reference to the, what did they call them? The small vehicle scriptures or whatever, the Tipiṭaka. And I wanted to know what the references were. So anyway, that's neither here nor there. Yeah, okay, so we finished a section. We'll get to the next section in the next reading. At any rate, I hope that you enjoy that travel video. It's probably a little more enjoyable than this recital was, listening to me go on about how much I hate the 3 dots and seriously talk to the future Polytech Society about how they should do something about that. And the book can be thicker. How much thicker would it be? Would it be this thick? This thick? Because that's fine. That's fine. I mean, okay, shouldn't waste paper or whatever, but if you're going to waste paper anyway. No, anyway, thank you all for going on this ride with me. This is sometimes bumpy, sometimes dirty, sometimes boring, sometimes interesting, exciting, sometimes offensive, apparently, for some folks. Ride with me. And thank you to our special guest. And, okay, until next time. Oh, wait, I don't say that yet. Let's do the closing, shall we? Thank you for the honking to the people outside. Okay. Anything I forgot? I don't think so. Okay. Yes. To the north and to the south, to the east and to the west, to the spirits of light among us and to the spirits below, we send out our reverent love and compassion. May all beings be happy. May all beings be serene. May all beings be in peace. Until next time.